Oh, they're here. Shut off the radio. I'll get the door. Come on in. We've been expecting you. Welcome to the office of Crown and Quill, private investigators.
Glad you were able to find your way to the back unit. Not everybody knows there's a 13B Mosby Avenue.
Take a seat and...
That's a lot of people. I didn't realize we needed more than 2 chairs, Queen.
Okay, well, I guess you guys can all just stand? Standing good with you?
Just, make sure you step past the threshold. Keep the hallway clear. It's a fire hazard.
Okay, yeah, alright. I'll make this quick, I promise.
Yeah, we don't talk much.
Awful lot of witnesses for the second series of events. Well, for legal reasons, I guess I should read you the normal intro first. Welcome to Threshold Autopsy. I'm your host, Private Investigator Queen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am jazzed to be here with you all. Now let me warn you, this show contains major spoilers for everything in Malevolent as of the day this episode is published, so if you're not caught up, I'm not liable. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask my professional associate here to state the facts of the case so far.
Howdy, hello. Private Eye Vol Control here. He, him pronouns, and the facts of the case this week are as follows. Robert Puckett, notorious crime boss of the east side of Arkham, has enlisted the help of the mystic Leonard Gilbert in regards to the mysterious presence that seems to be hunting him. A successful hypnotism is unsuccessful in giving Mr. Puckett the answers he seeks. But perhaps, Mr. Gilbert suggests, he could enlist the help of one Mr. Arthur Lester.
Did you guys like it? Did you like our little intro?
I pulled a real Harlan Guthrie and put that all together today.
Literally, like, how many hours even?
I started at 11 a.m.
Yeah, it was crazy. Vol did an incredible job, and like, all fully, it sounds good enough that I was like, you should show Harlan this. We're so inspired. I'm so proud of you.
I was
Good
very inspired, and I have to credit Harlan to some of that inspiration and got some of that soundscaping in my head.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I think it went great.
Yeah.
Everybody give Vol like the biggest round of applause. I should have that on my stream deck. I don't, but biggest round of applause for Vol. Everybody say how amazing he is. He's incredible. He did this. Like, I want to be clear. I didn't do shit. I showed up, said my lines, and left.
You wrote the script, and you even included all the sound effects you wanted in it, and so I just, like, made a list. I made a little grocery list of sound effects I needed and went to Pixabay and picked a few.
As usual, I come up with ideas, and I go, somebody else do this. I don't know how to do this. Somebody else figure it out. No, but that was adorable. Also, obviously, amazing new splash art by Milk, who also put it together in, like, 2 hours.
Crazy.
And Milk, in fact, I showed Milk the script just to give inspiration, and they were like, okay, oh my god, there's a script, give me thumbnail, I'll have thumbnails sketched out in like 20 minutes if you just give me, and I'm like, no, I am not meaning for you to animate this. That is not the request here. I just wanted a cute little piece of splash art.
Yeah, and Milk,
adorable,
as always,
little...
delivers.
Yes, adorable little Private Eye, Queen and Vol investigators. I'm so excited. This is my favorite genre. I'm so excited. I'm ready.
I know. I'm so excited too.
I'm just gonna have a million things to talk about. Yes. Okay, so obviously Private Eye theme for this season of Autopsy to match with a new series of Malevolent. This, for the public, this is kind of like the intermezzo or the coda. This is the bridging gap between parts. And so Overture is our introduction to this world. I think it does such a good job doing that.
It does an incredible job doing that. The vibes are so good.
Yeah. And truly, it just got me, and I knew this was going to happen. It's just getting me more excited for the upcoming chapter, which, by the way, public, we get to hear the chapter tomorrow, and today is February 8th. The public won't be hearing any of this until April.
That's crazy. It is crazy to me. I mean, I know that for all of the run of Malevolent, they've only gotten one part per month, but still like going a few months without any Malevolent, crazy. I couldn't imagine.
Hopefully, for those who are in the trenches and need a malevolent fix, they find Autopsy and they can listen to Autopsy in the couple months that they are without full parts of Malevolent. We're no Harlan Guthrie, but we do talk about him a lot.
And we will be posting weekly Autopsy episodes to the public without stopping.
Yes, because we are the public autopsy is still on 59 as we speak. They have not even reached our finale episodes and we have multiple finale episodes. We thought we were going to have a gap that we needed to fill. No, no, no,
No,
we don't. We
no,
we got
no.
plenty of content. So, everyone will still get their autopsy fix.
We should just prepare for every finale for us to have like at least two extra episodes of Autopsy, if not more.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. So, let's roll out the evidence and seek out any leads we can find. Evidence in this case, of course, is a favorite standout moment or line from the show, and a lead is going to be something you feel like you want to chase down and find out more about, maybe even do a little theory crafting. So, Vol, why don't you start us off?
My favorite piece of evidence this week was, can I just say like the overall vibes? Is that
You
is
stole
that
mine.
is
I was sitting here during our relist, and I was like, I just want to put the overall theme, and damn it, he already got it. So yes, I guess
you
you can.
you also stole my lead, but I changed mine.
I stole your lead. Ah, sorry.
No, it's okay. But to get a little more specific and not use such a wide body of evidence as like all of it, I was really impressed with how Harlan was able to do not only this world building with like the vibes, but also give hints of to who these new characters are. Like just the fact that that Gilbert asked for a grape juice Ricky of all things.
What the fuck is
And
that? Tell me you looked that up.
so someone in the chat shared what it is. It is not a cocktail, but a mocktail,
Oh my
and
god, I
it
love him.
it is grape juice, lime juice, and seltzer water.
A grape juice Ricky. If I don't
Yeah.
see everybody at the Malevolent conference drinking grape juice Rickies, I'm walking out.
Oh my God, we should do that. That's so funny.
Can you imagine going up to a modern hotel bar and being like, hey,
Can
can
I
I
get a
have a grape juice Ricky, please?
I bet they would be like, is that code for something? Are you in trouble? Like, are you in danger?
No, officer, I don't even know what cocaine is.
And on the other hand, we get, told that this guy is a crime boss, which like it's just hearing his voice, like you knew before you even heard. The Kingpin
Oh,
vibes
yeah.
are so strong. But in this first introduction of him, you hear that he was not only desperate enough to seek out a therapy for men in the
Oh,
1930s. Are you kidding me?
he's gotta be desperate.
But he also was desperate enough to seek out a fucking mystic.
I am fascinated by the mental hoops this crime boss has jumped through to figure out how to get here. He must have
Right.
truly exhausted all options.
I mean, I assume he must be like losing sleep over this at this point because he's proven that he's not being physically followed. Like, he had his boys on the case. So he's not being physically followed, and he feels this presence, and he has this suspicion that it's something from his past haunting him. So, like, yeah, that dude is probably not sleeping very much.
Yeah. So, what's your lead? What are you chasing down?
So my first lead is, what has Gilbert been up to that he was afraid got back to Puckett? Because when he initially realized that he was talking to Robert Puckett, the crime boss, he was like, "Oh, I assure you that whatever anyone's told you,
Yes.
it's not true." What the fuck has he been up to?
Yeah, he was talking about how people had, whatever lies people are spreading. Like, that's gotta mean he's in some kind of hijinks, especially because of the way he mentioned, like, don't mention my name to Arthur.
Yeah, yeah. Although I have a feeling that Arthur just despises him because he's like a limp rag of a man and also a charlatan who claims to have all these mystic powers. I just immediately I was like, Arthur hates this man.
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, but I also just I think this guy, I don't think he's done anything truly nefarious. I think he's just, like you said, a con artist.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see Arthur specifically being like livid because this guy is probably kind of getting into Arthur's turf with John, and the fact
Mhm.
that Arthur knows about the supernatural and knows those things are real and sees the like the fucked up way that this person is presenting that information and screwing with forces that he doesn't understand and truly might be putting his foot into some really dangerous shit and getting other people in the line of fire and not
Right.
even knowing it. Like, I can
Right.
see how this would really conflict with what Arthur's experienced and what he's doing, but I also just think I have a feeling this dude is just like a bumbling idiot who gets into trouble, and Arthur's like probably tired of his shit.
Yeah.
I loved too that he was so willing to admit that his shit is fake.
Right, yeah. Well, I think, he was really kind of backed into a corner by this whole situation, which makes it really funny that he also is like, "Oh, by the way, I am getting paid, right?" It's like,
Yeah.
read the fucking room, my
Good
guy.
lord, you're lucky to get out of there with your fucking life, my dude.
But speaking of Gilbert's many skills and tools of the trade, do you remember how excited you got about the mention of numerology when this dropped?
Oh my god. The day that this dropped, like 3 hours, 4 hours before it dropped, I I had been talking about numerology. I I think it was because I had what was the context for that?
Weren't you like prophesizing like things we could expect from Overture or something like that? Or like, I don't remember exactly.
Sorry, everyone. Now I gotta look that shit up.
Yeah, it's
I
important.
never get to do this.
This is important.
And multiple people forwarded it to me and went profit shit. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so the people were talking about. So Snake said, "I just had the realization: if Arthur truly doesn't get more than one death for the rest of his existence, he will only have died 8 times in his life. One death short of a cat's 9 lives." And I said, "But oh my god, 8 deaths, 8 ball." And 8 ball is something that we usually get after Arthur dies. And then there were a bunch of red string theory gifts that we posted. And I said, and hey, didn't Arthur say he killed maybe 7 people? I'm getting the numerology in Malevolent. And then numerology was brought up specifically in Overture. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess I am
Prophet
in my prophet
shit.
era now.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a funny coincidence. It was fun.
Well, I also had one other lead, which is like the really obvious one, but what exactly? I haven't actually looked at the transcripts. And then again, I don't know if the transcripts are completely correct, but what did Puckett say while he was under? Sounded like he said bury, as in like to bury someone, but what if he said Barry, like a man's name? Or I
Yeah.
this time around I thought I heard Murray? I don't know.
It's hard to make out, and I'm sure that's intentional, but like the first time I heard it, I definitely heard Barry as in bury a body. The second time I listened to it, I heard Barry with more of an A sound, so I thought maybe it could be a name.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we'll all get it. It'll click because it'll come up. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that aha moment.
I'm betting on Murray now. I know I know that's a step
Okay.
away, but I'm calling it now. It's Murray. It's not
Not betting
Barry.
on us, betting on Murray.
I'm betting on Murray. That's right. Do you want to share your evidence this week, Queen?
Sure, why not? Mine are pretty simple. So, my biggest thing was that feeling of like So you're listening to all of Overture and you're like, okay, I get the vibes and I'm excited about this, this little vignette. And I truly, because I went into Overture completely resetting my expectations for how this was going to go as a part of Malevolent. And so I didn't know if this was going to lead into John and Arthur walking in the door, or maybe it'll be several more chapters until we get to go back with John and Arthur. Maybe I really truly just completely wiped the slate clean, slate, and I tried to not expect anything, which in my experience is a really fun way to go about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So when he goes to the door and he's like, actually, I gasped audibly and I clenched the arms of my desk chair and I was like, oh my god, he's gonna mention Arthur. I bet he's gonna mention Arthur. And then when he says it, I'm like, oh my god, that's my guy. I know that guy. I was like, I love that feeling of recognition. I don't know, maybe it's maybe it's kind of low-hanging fruit, or some maybe would say that it's like a cheap shot, because I'm thinking of when people put references in movies to pop culture and nostalgia.
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
It's criticized as something that people are overusing right now, to be like, oh, that's all your movie is a bunch of references that you go, haha, I know that one, and then that's it. The difference, I think, in Malevolent is I feel like those are always so earned that I never feel pandered to. And so, yes. And so when he dropped the name, I was like, oh, that's my guy. And I got so excited because I wanted to, I don't know, I got this childish feeling of leaping into the narrative and going, excuse me, I know the guy that you're talking about, and he's pretty
a personal
great,
friend of mine, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that feeling of anticipation where it was like you really were holding out hope, maybe just a little sliver of hope, or a really big cake slice amount of hope that there was going to be some little reference of John and Arthur. And so when we made it to the end of this little prologue, this little, scene setting kind of introduction to the series and to the season, it was so exciting and such a satisfying payoff to actually hear Arthur's name, and not just, oh, I know a PI who might be able to help you with a mystery like this. It was actually Arthur Lester. No, I thought it was really well earned and very exciting.
Yeah, and I would love to think that this is a great introduction for somebody who maybe didn't listen to series 1, or I think it's going to be a really good entryway for folks who are just jumping on. I'm curious to know how much you need to know about series 1 in order to enjoy series 2. I bet it will be kind of one of those, you don't need to know everything, but it would be more fun if you did kind of things. Yeah. At least that's the impression I'm getting. Seer of Time says, I love how we all cheered at Arthur's name as though we have gone years without this man instead of 3 days. But it felt like it had been forever.
Well, and considering we haven't seen him on screen, it feels like it's been a long time for some reason.
Well, it does, especially for us.
It hasn't been that long. You know what it is? I think part of it is just how long it's been since we've had a poll. That's part of it.
I am going through it. I am in poll withdrawal right now. So bad. It's so hard.
Well, why don't we distract from that by you sharing what your lead was this week?
So I'm really curious. I know everybody kind of latched on to what did Gilbert do and what were his interactions with Arthur like. I am really curious about how Puckett is going to interact with Arthur.
Yes.
That kind of big, powerful presence in a voice, and transparently, I'm imagining Kingpin from Into the Spider-Verse. This giant suit man that takes up most of the room. So I'm imagining
giant suit man. Yeah. No, the chat's going wild. Everybody's like, yes, queen, same. Oh my god, yeah.
I'm imagining a man who takes up most of the room. So I'm trying to think of how Arthur is going to interact with somebody so intimidating and powerful and strong, and somebody who is so Uh, it's the kind of crime where they don't even need to hide it, and that's how you know they're serious because it's not a big
Right.
deal. Like,
Right.
truly, the fact that he can just admit to being a crime boss without any fear of that coming back to him or admitting anything or whatever, it's a testament to how powerful he must be. And I mean, he owns an entire side of the city. And,
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated to see how Arthur interacts with somebody who is human
Right.
and that powerful and imposing.
I am just like so when I wrote this down as my lead event initially, I said I can't wait for Puckett to interact with Arthur Spit in the Eye of God Lester because like he has been through so much that I wonder if he is even capable of being physically intimidated by a human man.
The scales are fucked. I will say that. I think Arthur is going to have a really hard time being scared of most normal things anymore. However, I do think that he has not lost his PI skills. And I'm thinking in specific of season 4, where we got to see a little bit of how he was still able to talk to John about different tactics to interrogate people and like different ways they could manipulate Oscar and the way Parker would rough people up. So, like, I'm curious to know what approach he's going to take with this kind of person and if John will have any kind of weight on his decisions as a PI now
Yeah. Yeah.
because he doesn't have anybody to consult with like
Right.
he used to.
Oh, oh man. Oh, I just had a thought. I just had a thought. You know what is going to kick Arthur Lester's sense of self-preservation in gear?
Hmm.
Burrow. The fact that
Yeah.
he has another person, he has family, not just friends who are in danger, but family who is like present and active in his life. His daughter, no less.
He's not. He has something to lose now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's gonna help him from being. I mean, he also is significantly less suicidal than he was in the last series, but I think that Faro's presence in his life may make even stakes when it comes to interacting with human danger, make him more cautious about that.
I wonder if Arthur's really just going to be like, well, John, maybe it's time for me to find something else to live for, a new purpose. And then looks 5 inches to the left. That different furrow. That's my new purpose now. Like, I wonder if that's what he's going to take away from this is like, oh, I need to move on from making furrow my everything. Oh, wait, there's furrow, my new
Wait, there
everything.
she is. Yeah, I think we're all on the edge of our seats as far as seeing how Arthur interacts with other characters in series 2.
Yeah, and I am excited to see how they operate as a unit, like working
Yeah.
together. I mean, we saw the trailer for Threshold and we saw a snippet of the way that they operate. And it seems like they are, I think, as far as like moving and navigating the world and all the literal interpretations of them having to be a team
Hmm.
together, I think they've probably got it down by now, especially because
Yeah.
if I were Harlan, I wouldn't have to worry about all the minutia of how do they do walking around their own
Right.
office and stuff
Oh,
like that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I have to wonder how they handle presenting themselves to the public more. We
Right.
saw that a little bit here and there in Blackstone, the Series 1 campaign. If you don't know, public listener, the first series of Malevolent is now called Blackstone, and this one is called Threshold, but we are still just going to call it Malevolent because that's what it is right now. And I'm
Right.
curious to see if there's something that some excuse they've got or a way they handle things like reading. If Arthur wants to read
Hmm.
something and can't say that in front of John, are they going to start coming up with signals and stuff? And I really just need to make
Yeah.
sure that if they have a way to communicate without me knowing about it, I'm aware of that first because I don't need more of this we're going to make off-screen plans without Queen thing.
I know. I know. Queen is very sensitive about being left out of the conversation. She's very like John in that regard.
I don't like it when I'm not there for every step of their journey. It also Queen, and also Queen was there. I would like to be there with you, boys. Thank you. Just keep me filled in. I appreciate it.
I am really curious if they're gonna come up with some kind of sign language or like hand signals, and I know that that's been something that has come up in headcanons and in fandom from time to time, and it would be really cool if there was even just like a hint of that.
Ooh, this is actually a fun thing I think we could make continued predictions about as the story goes on if we don't get the answer right away. Fish in the chat says, I don't think Faro knows. Do you think Faro knows, Vol?
About John?
About John?
Oh, oh, I don't know. I I feel like I feel like there's so many unanswered questions about how that initial interaction between Arthur and Faro must have gone, and I don't know if we're ever going to get explicitly told how that all shook out, word for word necessarily. But
Mm-hmm.
I also have seen some people talk about how, and I think in our voice messages from last week, some people were talking about how like Faro presumably was raised by Arthur. She calls him dad. She's not shocked that he's there. She knows it's his office. So that kind of establishes some of it. And so Faro might have some sort of instincts towards being an investigator herself. And so how quickly or how easily would she notice all these things that are slightly off about her father?
I think that Arthur Arthur's investigative services are clearly geared toward the supernatural, and
True.
Faro knows that. So I think Faro, in some capacity, either has had experiences of her own, or believes that Arthur has had experiences, or has been there for some experiences that Arthur doesn't remember because he's not the right Arthur.
Right.
Or but I honestly ultimately think what people said in the chat already, starting with TakeoverPie, because of course I think Faro is going to figure it out before they confess. I think that Faro will know before we hear Arthur and John tell her.
Yeah, like Ajax says, what if she knows everything but is pretending she doesn't so as not to freak out Arthur, and Arthur thinks she doesn't know, so he hides John so she doesn't freak out. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty likely actually.
That's really funny. I love that. And I mean, for all we know, this Faro and Arthur have already had a conversation about that off screen. We will
Yeah.
literally know in a handful of hours
Oh my
because
god.
it's it's less than 24 hours away that we will hear the first chapter of series 1 Threshold. Series 2 Threshold. I'm tired.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Me too. But I think it's time we get into some witness statements.
Let's do.
Hi, Autopsy. RosesofEnvy, she, her, and let's talk about Threshold Overture. What is an overture? Well, the simplest definition is that an overture is an instrumental piece of music that precedes a larger planned work. However, there are other related definitions and applications of an overture that I did in fact pull out my music history textbooks to reference. Overtures first appeared in the 17th century, and at that time were typically incidental music preceding an opera. In fact, most famous overtures, if you go looking, are related to operas. Mozart's Don Giovanni, The Magic Flute, Bizet's Carmen, the list goes on. As we get into the classical era, overtures developed with a more specific musical style dependent on the composer's preference, and eventually would adopt one of the most recognizable characteristics of the work they are creating, incorporating material from the opera into the overture. Even if you're not familiar with opera, this can also be seen in musicals titled either an entr'acte or an overture. Take The Sound of Music by Rodgers and Hammerstein. This overture includes 3 minutes worth of snippets from The Sound of Music, Do Re Mi, My Favorite Things, and Something Good. It features material from the full musical, but it also has its moments to transition between pieces. Although this is the most popular appearance of an overture, preceding a work with relating material, there are also standalone overtures that don't precede a work and have their own musical structure, such as Mendelssohn's Hebrides Overture or Brahms' Academic Festival Overture. So, how does this relate to our first interstitial for Threshold? I think this is a perfect example of sampling previous material as well as incorporating plenty of new material to give us a brief snapshot of what Series 2 of Malevolent will hold. We already have new characters, new groups to follow, and a new plotline, but we're back in Arkham with knowledge of characters Arthur and John and familiar music accompanying them. All this to say that as both a standalone work and as an introduction, Threshold Overture has us hooked.
Thank you, Rose. Oh, I love that. Thank you for explaining what an overture is. I'm only familiar with them as my little kid self being like, this is boring as I sit and wait for the musical to start.
Right.
I grew up on Rodgers and Hammerstein, so I loved hearing you name drop Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rose mentions that we have already been introduced to new characters, and I completely forgot to say the most obvious thing that I think every listener had in their mind when they first heard these new voices of Gilbert and Puckett. How the fuck does Harlan still have new voices? How the fuck does that guy have so many
Yeah.
guys? How does he have so
Yeah.
many guys in his head?
Yeah, I have to wonder. I would love to know how he's gonna have a series, because I think this was part of the fear of limitations in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember in commentaries, was like the more you put them in crowded cities and like urban places where they have to talk to a lot of people, the more voices he has to come up with, and it has to be obvious to the listener that they're not all the same person and that he's talking to multiple different people. And so I wonder how he's gonna do that. And I'm not in a skeptical way, but in like a, I genuinely am excited to see where he, like, if
Yeah,
my suspension of disbelief is going to make me forget about voices I've already heard and
sure.
a long time ago, so he can reuse some of them, or what. I'm excited to see where more voices come from and how he keeps distinguishing them without
Right.
doing like wildly different accents, you know what I mean?
Well, and I think that we have actually he's even planted the seeds for how he's going to do this. Even this meta thing because I think you'll notice that not only has his skill as an audio editor and a soundscaper and a composer and all of that improved over the 6 seasons of Malevolent Blackstone, but also he has learned a lot of techniques about how to modulate his own voice. And I think that, I think that Puckett's voice is like extra affected in whatever audio program he's using. And I think that he may utilize some tools like that to help modify his voices. I mean, he did that with like Lilith and the doll maker and like so I feel like and not to mention fucking Marie. So like there's a lot that can be done in the audio software and I think that he's experimented with that enough that he feels I think he's going to continue experimenting with that.
Yeah, and I love the different, like the mesh of both using physical and virtual modifications. Like I know
Yeah.
his techniques for talking like the doll maker with his fingers in his mouth, and I know that there was an old joke that has kind of died out now where people used to think that he would speak through a Pringles tube to do John's
Hmm.
voice.
Right,
He has
right.
never done that, but that was a rumor at the time. Things like that in combination with stuff like simple modulation, I think is
Yeah.
amazing. I what I hope comes to pass is that people continue to have that experience of it's all Harlan, because
Oh, yeah.
it's already just so deeply impressive to me that he did a full series completely voiced on his own. There were Misra even says it's still amazing that he did 6 characters in the same room in part 40. He did a consistent cast
Yeah.
for season 5 in the
Yeah.
castle with the suspects and all of that.
Yeah.
And we heard a lot of modulation in terms of like all of the eldritch or otherworldly creatures, but even like my brain is starting to pick out the different, like the root voice and then how he's modulating
Yeah.
it. Like I heard a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
of the traitor in Puckett, and I heard I
little
heard
bit
a
of
little bit
Percival
of
in
Percival, but I think
yeah.
honestly, Percival is always going to live in any character with a fucked up nasal passage. So,
Right,
like,
true.
I think that's unfortunately
That's
just going to
true.
automatically be tied to Percival. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what else he does and the ways he will surprise us.
Yes, so much so.
Hey, Inky, she, they. I'm excited to see the kind of people Arthur and John have become while we've been away. It's been anywhere from a couple of months to some people are speculating 13 years since we last saw them, and I'm hoping it's closer to the former. Last time we saw Noel, he was trying not to bleed out in the timeout corner, and please bring my boy back alive. I really miss him. I don't foresee the meeting between Puckett and Arthur going very well. Even putting aside the fact that he's a crime boss, which is already a strike against him, within minutes of meeting Leonard, he's already calling him by nicknames, and the last person who called Arthur Artie dropped him from airplane cruising altitudes. So that's going to be an interesting one. That being said, if everything does go well, Arthur being in the good graces of a crime boss who owns all of East Arkham could be beneficial for him in the future. I also find the ticking clock to be a very interesting detail. We hear it really predominantly in the intro and outro, but we also hear it very, very quietly throughout the entire episode. That, paired with the pocket watch, makes me think that time will be a very important factor. Not only is Puckett's past catching up with him, we might not have that much time left. This might be a situation where we don't have the luxury of getting distracted. Speaking of the pocket watch, it's difficult to say whether it's something that's going to be important later on. Gilbert isn't exactly the most reliable narrator, so whether or not this is actually a family heirloom of great importance or just something he picked up at the flea market a couple days ago is difficult to discern at the moment. If it is important, it could indicate the influence of another god entity. Some people in the Discord have been bringing up Hypnos as someone we've already been introduced to in Series 1. The mention of the word cosmos as the hypnosis keyword is also pretty indicative, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, those are my 2 cents. Have a good autopsy!
Thank you so much for your submission, Inky. I love that you brought up Hypnos. I don't know very much about gods, and I was not okay, I liked mythology. I could not memorize mythology,
Sure.
so I don't feel like I'm allowed to claim being a Greek mythos girly, but I do love them, and I love hearing about them, and I always want to hear about them all the time. I used to love, like, Hypnos and Hypnos's whole deal. I remember being very excited about that. I also am fascinated by the idea that it could like Harlan now has a whole series of Malevolent to grab seeds from. Like anything that we heard in
Right.
60 parts of this amazing story could be picked up and been
Yeah.
like, okay, I didn't originally plan for this, but
it's a
I'm
thread
out
to
of
pull
ideas.
on.
And yeah, and now he can make something out of what was once nothing. Like, I'm pretty sure Hypnos being dropped in season 4 was not a setup for series 2, but I will never know
No.
that for sure because if it comes back, it is now. You know what I mean? And I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. Inky, you're so smart to extrapolate from the cool vibes of the clock ticking, which I thought created the coolest atmosphere, and the way it was kind of like sprinkled throughout, and kind of tied up with a bow with the pocket watch being used for the hypnosis and all of that. But I am curious if that is indicative of sort of one of the themes that's going to be woven through this season. Yeah, it should be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm so excited to learn more. I can't wait.
I have one more thing I have to say about Inky's message.
Okay, go.
The way you referred to the last person who used a nickname on Artie, dropped him from airplane cruising
Oh my
altitudes,
God.
was fucking hilarious. Very good line.
I'm so glad I mute my mic when we do voice notes because there are some things people say in these messages that I am not expecting. That shit took me out. I went, "Pah!" like really loud. It was so good. Airplane cruising altitude. That's entering my vernacular immediately.
Pie, she, her. Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Puckett, what to make of you? Gilbert, completely incapable of reading the room, somehow has gotten his hands on an obviously arcane pocket watch, and worked with Arthur on a case before. Not hired him, worked with him. And Mr. Puckett, crime boss, has definitely murdered people, but was able to pinpoint a specific shadow from his past that he believes is hunting him. The shadow is causing actual reform, and he's chosen to look for help in Mystic Magazine? It does sound like someone had actually recommended Gilbert to him for whatever reason, but you memorized the sales pitch. You didn't just do some background research and found his advertisement. You memorized the advertisement. You went to therapy in 1935. And the shadow is a recently occurring specter. There is a gap between him burying the man and the shadow appearing. Closer to my home, to my throat. Mr. Puckett, whose throat did you slit?
Thank you, Pie. If this were a real-world detective agency, all due respect, I would only call you in the most dire of circumstances because everything you ever say to me would drive me crazy. How dare you come in here with like legitimate theorizing and conversation? I didn't have that many questions before you opened your mouth, and as usual, I have 18 more.
Yeah. No, I love that Pi fixated on you memorized the advertisement because he did. I mean, he read off all of his titles, and he definitely wasn't like we assume he wasn't holding the magazine while he was reading it, which is very funny and strange, especially because Puckett says that he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in all that mumbo jumbo.
He's desperate. He's desperate. I'll say this. I have personal experience with, I've had a lifelong issue, and me and my family were desperate to find a solution. Not much was known about it at the time medically. Right now it's a lot more well known, but back then it wasn't. I'm in my 30s, so this was a while ago, guys. And we were so like, we genuinely were looking at absolutely anything we could do to figure out what was quote unquote wrong with me. And there were so many times where we almost turned to alternative medicine and hypnotherapy, and you do end up reading and genuinely listening to people who you would never have put any stock in before. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in any of that or you're crazy for that. I'm just saying, like, I personally had never put any stock in things like hypnotherapy, but when you get to a point of desperation where the people who should know don't know. Like, when all of the figures of authority that you've been told your whole life are supposed to know things and fix things, and there are experts that have gone to school for this stuff, and everyone's got the answers, you're just not equipped, and so you need to go to somebody else who knows. And then the people you go to are like, I don't fucking know. Like, that's when you start getting to the point where you will fall for snake oil salesmen and you will try anything. And I think that's what makes this kind of horror effective for me personally, is desperation will bring you to places that you did not ever feel that you would or could go in so many different ways. It's not always just about violence. It's also about where your brain will go in desperation.
Right. I mean, men will do anything but go to therapy, and Mr. Puckett even got to that point.
Oh my god. Well, and Pi also brought up a great point that Gilbert says he worked with Arthur, not he hired Arthur.
Yeah.
And that is such a cool distinction, because now I'm imagining that Arthur was hired by somebody who had been duped by him or didn't realize it, and Arthur was getting involved, and Arthur discovered that he was duped by him. Or, like, they were forced to work together as part of a case that was unrelated to him. You know what I mean? Like,
or about, like, other charlatans or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, like, Arthur going to Gilbert to be like, well, tell me how you do your stupid bullshit, because I can't figure it out. I need to know for a case.
I think I should have put this down as evidence because of how much I like it. I forget that I like it. When he's like, what is the symbol on the watch? He's like, gibberish. It's like, he doesn't even try to make up that he thinks it's a real symbol. He's just so honest about the fact that this is all a charade. But he's not 100% lying, because he still goes through with it. And he still does something. Like, he proves that there is something to the hypnosis that he does. And I think that, you know, we've seen like medical evidence that like things like meditation do something to your brain. We don't have a lot of information about what, but we know that that kind of thing has an effect. And I think it's very cool that he will admit that most of what he does is bullshit, but not all of it.
Yeah. I find that so interesting that like like Gilbert is kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, you got me, like it is kind of theater, but then the hypnosis does actually do something.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I'm interested to know if Gilbert has gotten his fingers into like genuine artifacts that have like real risk or power associated with them. And maybe part of that, like I could see Gilbert honestly becoming a recurring character that Arthur hates dealing with but constantly has to.
Sure. I've seen people in the chat and also over the week that we've been digesting Overture, I've seen a lot of people took that line, it's just gibberish, different ways. Some people thought that he was admitting that it's, you know, that this like grand description of the pocket watch he had just given is bullshit, but other people thought like he was dismissive, like he didn't want Puckett to think anything of it. He didn't want him to ask any questions about what the symbols are. And so he was just like,
Oh.
oh yeah, it's just gibberish. Don't worry about it. And I'm curious which way it is.
Yeah, because if you want to go down the twist of a twist route, it could be that he has some serious, genuine access or power, but he is covering that up with the facade of being a con man so that people don't take him seriously and won't come after him, won't put a target on his back. I don't know. That's an
Yeah, and I
interesting
mean,
play on it too.
yeah, we really don't know because again, we are shown that he's willing to admit that some of it's bullshit and yet some of it works. So there's no
He's also a
telling.
coward. I mean, he's very transparently a fucking coward.
Yeah.
Hello, it's Spade, with the first autopsy from me for Series 2. The new beginning. It's gonna be fun. Really like the two new characters here, and hopefully we're seeing more of them. I assume we're seeing Robert more, the mob boss with poor guy. I mean, not really poor guy. He's probably done a lot of things, but like he's so haunted. He allowed this other man to walk into his presumed living space and to hypnotize him. He is so desperate, and he's like haunted probably or something. I mean, I like him. I like both of them. They both seem neat. But I was very excited when Faro's song came on, and it's the instant, oh, Arthur, we're gonna talk about Arthur. Yeah, hopefully Arthur doesn't find out, but we can assume Arthur will find out, maybe, about Mr. Robert Puckett being a mob boss. It'll be fun when that secret comes out, but I'm excited to see all of the future interactions of Series 2. I'm in general very excited. I think that's all for me. Bye-bye from Spade.
Thank you, Spade, for your submission. I love your submissions. They always make me smile.
I thought it was really funny that Spade immediately jumps to calling him Robert. For some reason, when I heard that message, I was like, oh, I didn't realize you were on a first name basis with Mr. Puckett, Spade. Also, I thought it was really funny that Spade was like, I feel sorry for him. He's so haunted.
Oh my god.
It's kind of a different vibe.
I feel sorry for the man who's like as large as a semi-truck. Yeah. I don't know why I'm so determined to see this man as a very large man, but to me he is.
I am curious how Arthur's gonna feel about him being a crime boss, because like I kind of wonder how strong Arthur's sense of justice is when it comes to that. Like, is it shades of gray? Is it black and white?
I mean, you know who would love... Vol, you know who would love this? You know who would be so good at this and isn't here?
Who? Who could it possibly be?
There was this detective back in Blackstone.
Hmm.
And he had thoughts about how not all of the Freemasons were bad, and some of them were good people, but they were just a little bit greedy, and or people who just got caught up in stuff. And I think he would have nice thoughts about this.
Do you think it was his idea to team up with known serial killer and murderer?
I don't know. That one we'll talk about that offline.
That one feels like an Arthur decision.
It feels that's an Arthur decision. I don't know. That's a good question. If it was his decision or Arthur's decision or
Oh my God, Ajax.
John's.
Ajax says Arthur or Butcher in reference to the person responsible for multiple deaths. Very funny.
Maybe 7.
Maybe 7.
And that is it for our voice submissions.
For our witness statements.
Yes. Can you believe that we are done with an autopsy without going over?
You want to know why that is?
Why?
Because we started early.
Because we did. We started early, and because we only had like 4 submissions, and these are not our guys.
I know. Yeah, that definitely was a factor, and we don't have any context, and we don't have a poll to talk about.
There's no poll. I'm dying. I only miss one thing more than I miss polls, and at least the poll's coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, we can count on the poll coming back tomorrow, Queen.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you for stopping by the offices of Crown and Quill. We are at your service anytime, and we hope to see you back here next week to cover a little bit more of the case as it stands. If you as a listener want to be part of the show or participate in the community around it, visit linktree/Malevolent Autopsy to find out how. And thank you, of course, to Harlan Guthrie for our source material, my volunteer editor, Mizra, and an all-around volunteer assistant and co-host, Vol Control. Remember, in the end, it's never about certainty. It's about making a choice and moving forward. Until next time, the horrors persist.
But so do we.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.